So the first of our 7 categories that I'm going to highlight here is marketplace, and obviously something that is, you would hope would be very responsive to our theme of, change and volatility and resilience. So there are a number of kind of big opportunities here for reporters to do well. Certainly listing sort of or discussing rather the impact of bigger macroeconomic trends, talking about then perhaps specific market and regulatory trends on top of that. It's the combination that we think is best. And then talking about the strategic implications of same, right? So the idea is that these, certainly marketplace and strategy, should be 2 of the sections in the report that are most closely kind of drawn together. And there may even be a case nowadays for combining them to some degree, right? Because it's so important to talk about, well, what are the knock-on effects of all this change happening in the world? And obviously, ideally, we're going to find insightful commentary in the marketplace section, right? Rather than just sort of some bullet points or some stuff that's been rolled over from previous years and whatever else. So while there are opportunities, there are also pitfalls that reporters can unfortunately find themselves falling into. And as I just noted, I think given how much the world is changing, rolling the same trends forward every year, I think probably not the right move. Equally, these things are a lot more powerful and they're supported by stats numbers. So making sure you don't skip the stats is important. This is something that perhaps is relevant across the whole report, but I think particularly with marketplace, right? While there will be reasons for optimism, and this isn't about like self-flagellation or sort of doom mongering or anything like that, an unreasonable level of positivity sort of in 2026 reads particularly badly, because obviously you can imagine that your audience is going from reading the Financial Times or whatever they might read, and then opening your report and going, oh my God, these folks perhaps seem wholly divorced from the reality of the world. So you don't want to kind of create that feeling in the mind of your audience. Equally, marketplace has become one of these sections of the annual report that can be hamstrung by, oh, well, we always do 2 pages of marketplace, right? So it needs to fluctuate as global events occur or not, right? Is what we would argue. So our first winner, our first top dog is Hiscox, obviously the insurance firm, FTSE 100, and they probably did. There are certainly examples of other reporters who pulled out kind of similar topics, but you just cannot beat the clarity with which Hiscox talk about the fact that it's called The World Around Us. I'm really a big fan of as well. Really like that, it's clear, look, economic uncertainty, geopolitical volatility, climate change, AI and data, cyber threats, right? This is a really good shorthand for what most businesses are kind of wrangling with at the moment and the stuff that is changing the most. And this is just such a clear, crisp identification of these big, important topics that I thought it was sort of inarguable, really, that it had to be one of our top dogs. Our second top dog is Lion Finance Group, formerly Bank of Georgia, a new one for us this year. We've not featured them before. And they do one of the things that I mentioned just now, which is to say that they back up everything they're saying really well with statistics, numbers. And you can see some of that here, and they use charts and graphs and visuals to kind of bring it to life. And it just feels massively more credible than just sort of a general, perhaps, kind of discussion does, right? And you can almost have it centered around the numbers, where you start with a chart and then you sort of explain, well, what are the implications of this for the business? They also have quite a bit of this discussion, right? Like I said, it's pretty common for you to see marketplace as a 2-page piece, but the fact that they've got these graphs here extending over 4 pages and with quite a lot of high quality analysis on them, it is a really good thing. So we're a big fan of that.